There are new updates on the classified intelligence documents that found their way onto the internet after a major leak. As Catherine Herridge reports, the Secretary of Defense made his first comments on the case yesterday.
Who had access at that point? We don't know.
Defense Secretary Austin acknowledged Tuesday the leaked U.S. documents were exposed on the web, potentially for weeks. But he said the probe, led by the FBI, is making progress.
And we will continue to investigate and turn over every rock until we find the source of this and the extent of it.
Two officials tell CBS News steps have been taken to cut down the number of people receiving some classified briefings as the investigation accelerates.
It's actually easier the higher the level of classification.
Robert Anderson worked counterintelligence and espionage cases at the FBI. He says the highly classified nature of the leaked records may create a shortlist.
All those documents are numbered and accounted for, so you can actually very quickly get to who had access.
The leaked records were apparently printed before being photographed and posted online. A U.S. official says printers used for classified documents register a unique ID, possibly a clue for investigators.
Well, there's going to be a significant effort to look at all these different investigative avenues in the physical world and the digital world.
Meanwhile, the Biden administration deals with the diplomatic fallout.
We have engaged with allies and partners at high levels over the past days, including to reassure them about our own commitment to safeguarding intelligence.
U.S. officials tell CBS News that before the leak, 1,000 people or more potentially had access to the classified material. So to limit the risk, that number has now shrunk significantly, Omar.
Catherine, to the layperson, 1,000 people with access to highly classified information sounds like a lot. How typical is that?
That is actually a fairly limited number, Omar, if you think about the scope of the workforce, not only here at the Pentagon, but also within the U.S. intelligence community, Homeland Security, the FBI, and others. So it seems like a big number, but that's relatively small for investigators to kind of drill down to try and find the source.
You've been reviewing those leaked documents. In your estimation, how classified are they?
Overall, they're sensitive documents, but there are some records that really stand out to me, having worked in this space for 2 decades. These are documents that are marked SCI, that's sensitive compartmented information. That means the sources and methods are especially fragile, so it's on a very close hold. Another is called TK, or Talent Keyhole. That's the acronym for Satellite and Sensitive Imagery Intelligence. Also things like FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. That's like getting a wiretap on a subject. That appears to relate to Russian diplomats here in the U.S. So all of those things are highly sensitive because they're fragile and they're very difficult to replace, Omar.
Now, we hear that, of course, they're looking for the source of the leak. But what happens if they actually find the source of the leak? Are there consequences this person or this actor or this organization could face?
Well, there are a number of different scenarios, but big picture, if it's an individual or a group of individuals, they could face charges under the Espionage Act here in the United States. It's entirely possible, though, this individual may actually be the agent of a foreign government, which would make it even more complex. But to underscore the severity of these alleged crimes would warrant the Espionage Act.
What sort of cleanup does the Biden administration and the Defense Department have to do here to make sure that allies still trust us and don't think that documents are leaking left and right?
Well, unfortunately, Omar, the U.S. kind of has a rap for not being the best keeper of our allies' secrets. A lot of intelligence that we have access to is because of the good work of our partners. You may have heard of a group called the Five Eyes. This is an intelligence coalition that involves Britain, the U.S., also Australia, New Zealand, and one other, which has escaped me right now, but it's 5 nations in this intelligence coalition. So if you think about burning a source of intelligence, especially a human source or human, it may in fact be that this is a source that belongs to one of our allies. It's not even ours. It's like going to someone's house and you break their china or you break down their car, right? You feel bad, but they're the ones who have to replace it. So that's really what the U.S. is trying to smooth over and reassure our allies that we can be trusted with this kind of high-level intelligence.
Someone has to be the janitor and clean this up. So
Correct.
interesting.
Okay.
Catherine Herridge, thank you very much
You're
for your
welcome.
time.